Hey guys, let's get more news from Miami Heat, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. For potential landing spots for Bulls All-Star Zach LaVine. Chicago Bulls swingman Zach LaVine, who is averaging 21.9 points per game this season, hasn't been a stranger to trade rumors in recent years, but the possibility of him playing elsewhere increased dramatically on Tuesday. According to The Athletic's Shams Charania, rival teams are looking into LaVine's availability as there's increased openness from both the guard and the Bulls around a possible trade. Despite the fact that he should be in demand, LaVine is in the second season of his 5-year, $215 million contract, which may pose some issues in negotiations. Nonetheless, here are 4 teams that the 28-year-old would be a strong fit for if he were traded. Trading for LaVine and his massive contract could be problematic down the road for an aging team like Miami. The Heat recognize that their window of opportunity to win a championship is limited, though, as evidenced by their aggressive offseason run at current Milwaukee Buck Damian Lillard. Although LaVine isn't the same offensive threat as Lillard, he's averaging 25.3 points over the last 4 seasons and would immediately become a focal point for the 6th worst scoring team in the NBA, 109.6 points per game. The Portland Trail Blazers passed on Tyler Herro during the Lillard negotiations, and chances are the 2022 NBA Sixth Man of the Year's hefty contract won't interest Chicago. Any return for LaVine will depend on the Bulls' intentions for the future. If they pursue a rebuild, a package centered around Kyle Lowry's expiring deal, along with draft picks, could benefit both sides. This is already shaping up to be another injury-plagued season for the 5-6 Pelicans, with guard C.J. McCollum, collapsed lung, the latest to suffer a serious ailment. New Orleans is already feeling McCollum's absence, posting a 1-4 record without him. The Pelicans entered the season with concerns about their future with their current core, and should they continue to struggle, they'll need to make a move to keep Zion Williamson at ease. Sending LaVine to the Western Conference would make sense for the Bulls since they wouldn't have to play him as much. Aside from owning some intriguing future draft picks, the Pelicans could offer the strongest trade chip of any team in Brandon Ingram, a younger pure scorer who is only under contract through next season. Ingram hasn't developed in the way many expected since his breakout 2019-20 season, but his offensive potential makes him a valuable asset for the Bulls to either build around or flip for additional draft picks. By no means would LaVine make the Magic title contenders, though adding him to a core led by Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner should be enough to at least qualify for the play-in tournament. Additionally, it would be a statement move for a franchise that has hardly been relevant since Dwight Howard was dealt to the Los Angeles Lakers in 2012. Orlando doesn't have an abundance of quality draft capital, yet it has a surplus of young point guards, which could be appealing to Chicago given Lonzo Ball's uncertain future. Even with his early season struggles, LaVine is averaging more points than any Orlando player this season. He could alleviate some of the Magic's scoring troubles. The team ranks 26th in offensive rating, 109.8, while Orlando has the potential to compensate for his shortcomings on defense, considering it boasts the 3rd best defensive rating in the association, 108.2. While NBC Sports Philadelphia's John Clark reports that the Sixers would probably lean towards waiting until the trade deadline to make a move for LaVine, Chicago doesn't appear to be in a hurry to make a deal either. 4th-year guard Tyrese Maxey may be taking the leap to stardom, but after trading away former MVP James Harden to the Los Angeles Clippers last month, Philadelphia needs another big name and has the assets to land one. In the Harden deal, Philadelphia netted 2 first-round picks, 2 second-rounders and a pick swap as part of the return, all of which could be used in a LaVine trade. The 76ers could also include impending free agents Tobias Harris and Nicholas Batum, helping Chicago free up cap space for a rebuild. Even though it sits atop the Eastern Conference, 8-2, Philadelphia's championship outlook remains uncertain. LaVine's elite scoring ability could be the missing factor the Sixers need to finally get over the hump. Miami Heat, in dire need of another guard, may try to bring Chicago's Alex Caruso. As their record is underachieving and concerning, the Chicago Bulls already occupied the early season hot seat in the eyes of several league circles. As such, one league executive has whispered that a longtime Eastern Conference contender could be on a hunt to take one of their lone bright spots. The executive told Sean Devaney of Heavy Sports that the Miami Heat desperately needs to add a guard and may consider chasing Alex Caruso. He would be a great addition to the Florida team as his style of play and abilities would complement the Heat. They need a guard in the worst way, the Eastern Conference executive said. They're not out there beating the bushes for a trade or anything, that is not how they operate. They're going to say they like Josh Richardson, and they like Drew Smith, and all of that. But they've got to be concerned, and if the Bulls let it be known that Alex Caruso can be traded, they'd have to be the first in line. He is an Eric Spoelstra kind of guy all the way. They have an eye on him, for sure. We all do. Outside of their core trio in DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic, Caruso stands as a coveted piece that a contender may consider adding for contention. The 29-year-old remains an X-factor guard averaging 7.8 points, 3.9 boards, 2.4 assists and 1.6 steals this 2023-24. Should they decide on a teardown before the trade deadline, the swingman's value has to be capitalized given his reputation as one of the best role players in the league, who is also apparently shooting a career-best 44% mark from downtown. Coveted is a good word for him. If you want to make a trade tomorrow, they could trade Alex Caruso, the executive added. Half the teams in the league would be there with an offer. There's a lot of teams monitoring that situation, and they're looking at Caruso more than anyone on that roster. Just a matter of when the Bulls are ready to make changes and ready to let him go. Who is the hardest player to guard in the league, anyway? That's a question every defensive specialist has had to answer more than once. Or two. Or three times. So, Alex Caruso also took on the challenge of naming the most difficult opponents to defend in the NBA. But he tried to be a little more creative and reflective than his colleagues in his explanation. I could name about 20 players, as there is no just one answer. It's a long list, certainly. There are the obvious ones, stars like Stephen Curry and LeBron James. But Jordan Clarkson is a cool case. He is one of the most complicated to score because he can shoot from any distance and draw fouls. Above all, he makes good readings of defense reactions, said the player, in an interview with NBC Sports. Caruso established himself as one of the best defenders in the NBA that year, after being selected to the league's first-team all-defensive team. A significant feat in times when marking is increasingly a supporting factor in the game. But what could be the key to being a great scorer today? For the Bulls starter, knowing that completely stopping someone is impossible. And you fan, what do you think of the Alex Caruso situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.